Hello, welcome. My name is Sean Gardiner and today I will be walking you through my presentation and UX process on my vocabulary learning application, Pocket Vocab. Let's get started. First of all, I would like you to meet Sarah. Sarah is a 26-year-old working HR professional living in Bristol, United Kingdom. Her field of study is business administration, and she is the persona we'll be focusing on today for our UX process of Pocket Vocab. Okay, so Sarah has clear needs and goals which are essential for me as the designer to engage with. Sarah's main use for learning new vocabulary will be in the workplace. Her goal is to feel empowered to use the new vocabulary in the workplace environment. She needs an organised application offering 5 to 10 minute bite-sized vocabulary lessons and learning. She needs to easily view, track and review her progress. She also likes the competitive element and the ability to engage with friends. Okay, so what's the problem? My problem statement is Sarah is a friendly and compassionate HR advisor who is looking to improve her vocabulary to better assist fellow staff and colleagues at work. So how can we solve this problem? We believe that creating a goal and challenge orientated vocabulary application which offers tracking, user input and competition between users, we will achieve an increase in understanding of vocabulary and definitions which can then be applied in a professional or social environment. Okay, so moving on, design isn't without challenges. So what are some of the challenges here? Okay, so for Sarah, she likes to have fun with learning and she needs games, quizzes or puzzles to help assist her with that. She needs the lessons to be short because she has a busy work and social schedule. She needs to be able to learn around that schedule. She needs the application to be visually engaging. She would like to change the appearance or theme herself, so that way she can better engage with the content. As previously mentioned, she needs to be able to track and quantify her progress. She wants to revisit and review what she has learned. Here are some quotes from Sarah. It's hard to find the time and I uninstall apps if I find the content isn't relevant to me. It's great when I can see how much I've progressed when learning. Okay, so once we're clear on the persona, the challenges and the needs and goals, the next step I took was start to create some wireframes and early prototypes of Pocket Vocab. Okay, so what you can see here is how I mapped out the onboarding process. I wanted it to be simple and easy to use, and it was great to start to lay this out to see how that's going to work. Another process you can see is based on two of the user flows that I created when wireframing. The first one was to add notes to a word. As you can see, the word here was valiant, and it's the process of how the user can add notes to that word to help them learn. The second process is how they would invite a friend to the application to add them to their friends list so they can engage with them via the app in the games and other methods as such. Okay, so once I created some early prototypes and wireframes, I then needed to conduct some usability testing. Okay, so I conducted tests with 3 participants. Each session was around 10 to 15 minutes long, and I laid out 4 tasks for each user to complete to see what worked well for them, what didn't work so well, what their thoughts were, and hopefully get some good insight to how they were viewing the application and the tasks. The task that I chose was number 1, the onboarding process. Number 2 was to add a friend to a friends list via Facebook. Number 3 was to challenge a friend to play the word search game. Number 4 was to save a word to the My Learning section by adding it to Need to Practice. Okay, so these sessions proved extremely helpful in highlighting some issues or some changes that the users felt would help the application, or perhaps even things that I had missed or not seen. So we had some excellent feedback here. We ranked them all based on severity and helped prioritise them in that way. Some of the feedback we received was, one of the biggest ones that we noticed was that the user noticed there was no forgot your password on the login screen on the onboarding process. This was one of the highest severities because if a user was locked out of the application, it meant they wouldn't be able to get their password reset and then enter the application again. So that was really important, and we'd missed that, so it was excellent feedback. We can make the necessary changes after. We also noticed that after the user had completed playing the game with a friend, there was no immediate rematch option available to them, so the user would have to come out of the game, go back to the main menu, and then follow the steps to then create another game. This was wasted time for the user, and it's much better if they can rematch straight after and then engage in playing in another game with friends. We also noticed, or the user noticed, after playing games there was no results history. So tying back to Sarah, she wants that competitive element. And this user felt it would be good to see, okay, well, if I've played games with friends, I'd like to see how many I've won, how many I've lost, and kind of other statistics like that. So many great user observations here. So we collated those user observations, and obviously off the back of that, we've made some improvements to the application. These have been, we changed the onboarding process to include an email sign-up button instead of typing the information directly on the page. We added a button because that stayed more consistent with the Facebook and Google buttons that were already there. Game invites are now able to be sent to friends via the game area or the social area. We felt that some users were trying to send invites via the game section, whereas the only invite we had implemented was via the social area, so we changed that. We added the forgot your password button to the login screen. We also added the game results history on the friend's profile page. We added the rematch option on the after game screen, and we also included a new screen at the end of the game which included all words that had come up during the game, so then that the word can then be selected, which takes you to the word profile, which could be added to needs of practice. This was a great improvement because you could be playing the game, the user may come across a word that they'd like to learn and like to add to their profile, but they were required to remember that until the game had finished and then search it and then add it to needs of practice. So this way they can do it there and then much easier, and it stops them forgetting something that they would like to learn. There's some excellent improvements made, and it really helped the app come to development. Okay, so once we had made those improvements to the low fidelity prototypes, we wanted to do some digital prototyping, some mid to high fidelity and prototyping to really see how the app would look, start working on some UI for the application, and really lay out how it's going to feel and kind of visualize it in a better way. So here are some screenshots of what we did there using Adobe XD. Okay, so what are the next steps? We'd like to incorporate more word games into the application. We'd like to complete further UI development. We'd like to implement full word definition and example database to the application. And we would also like to design and tailor notification settings. Okay, so what have I learned? I've learned lots from this project, many pros and cons. As for the pros, I've really noticed that usability testing is an extremely important part of the UX process, and it's definitely going to be an area of focus on the future work. There were some really important improvements and feedback that we got. The forgot your password element was something that we didn't see, and that would have been severe in terms of getting the app to work correctly. It's really important to see that, so it's really an important part which I'm really going to focus on in the future. I found out that it's really crucial that content delivered to the user is relevant to them, and also that the onboarding process must be simple and it must be easy for the user to get set up. Some of the cons I've learned that I experienced some difficulty when designing high fidelity prototypes in Adobe XD. That's something I need to work on, and I'd also like to improve my basic UI skills. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and have a good day. Thank you very much.